So I guess I'll go ahead and introduce myself first. I am the trading captain. For those of you on the channel, you already know me. And I'm here with Ben from Benjamin Trading today. And I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself here.
Yeah, thanks for that. So yeah, my name is Ben from Benjamin P Trading, and yeah, we'll be doing our recap today. Hope you enjoy.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and go first this time because we've been kind of alternating. And I'll go ahead and share my screen here for you. Let me know when you're good, and I'll go ahead and get started.
Yeah, I can see that all good.
All right, so this is my metrics for the week. We had a really, really good hit on Monday, which is basically the saving grace for me this week. Got over $100 total before the losses. But really what happened this week was that the net losses for the week, I had 3 red days, which, considering that I was on a 10-day green streak, is a bit of a pivot. And this is something I'm paying very close attention to. Could signal maybe the market is changing to where my strategy isn't as effective, or it could be a signal that maybe I am holding too long or I am mistiming the entries. Either way, I feel like this is something to really pay attention to going into next week. I did take a lot less trades too, right? I took basically almost double as many trades last week. So the fact I only took 22 this week, very significant as well. But yeah, $70 on the week, still green week, 55 after commissions. So I'm really happy for that. As far as you can even see down here, the one anomaly trade I had. So what do you think of this? What is your thoughts on how this all played out?
Well, I was looking at your profit to loss ratio, so your will, which is what is it, 1.1 to 1, because I was struggling on mine this week, and I wanted to talk a bit about that. But you had 9 losers and 13 winners. I think it's really good. I mean, like I know the saving grace of this, I guess, was the Monday big green day that you had, but you
Right.
were coming off a green streak anyway, right? And I think I remember you talking about perhaps taking your foot off the pedal slightly. Well, not taking your foot off the pedal, maybe opening up a bit and taking a bit more risk. And I suppose maybe it just didn't connect this week. I think it was definitely hit and miss for sure with some of the trades, and I think you were able to capture and capitalize on the best one. I think that was the Monday, but of course it was a bit of hit and miss. But otherwise, I think it's still quite a solid week in terms of your stats anyway, right?
One thing I do want to point out, because this is slightly misleading. Now, keep in mind, you can see that my average winners and losers, it shows that my average winners are a bit higher, but I would actually make a counter argument and say that it's actually inversed here, mainly because this one big winner that I had, that $77 winner from here, that greatly offset the average winners. So in reality, if we were to take this one out, then I mean, I'll actually just do that just as a like quick test here. So I'll actually change this just to $15 on the day. See what happens. And as you can see here, now we're having an inverse where the average losers are actually higher. So really today, I still had higher accuracy for the week, but my average winners were actually smaller than my average losers if we're excluding the big home run I hit. And
Yeah.
that could be kind of like a hidden seed to really look into. And maybe, again, could be another factor to what I was saying earlier about maybe I'm holding too long. Maybe my entries are just getting punished harder. Whatever the case is, that's something that I really need to pay attention into next week, seeing my actual win-loss amounts, not necessarily just the accuracy.
What
But yeah,
about your size? I think you generally go in with quarter and half positions anyway, right?
yes, size has been still pretty much the same. That's actually part of why I haven't gotten totally destroyed, is because I have been keeping appropriate size. A lot of the more aggressive entries I've been trying on lighter size.
Yeah.
And I know, especially or Tuesday, Wednesday in particular, I was pushing a bit harder for those more aggressive entries. So that could
Yeah.
explain partially why I was getting punished harder because I was trading on the front side a bit more. But yeah, I'll go
But
ahead and
yeah.
close this here. Do you have any
I
other
was, al- I
questions
was
before I close
Yeah,
this?
I was just going to say it's also reasonable to assume that if when you come off the back of a really big win, you're more the possibility or the chances of you having a red day straight after that can be quite high because you're coming off of this really high. You've got this perhaps overconfidence, maybe,
Yeah,
and
euphoria.
then
I
you
mean, I
sort
was
of
on a 10-day green
yes, exactly.
streak and then having a
Yeah,
100-day
exactly.
hit, feeling
Yeah,
unstoppable. Maybe I let that confidence
that could
get to me a little bit. That's totally
that
a
could play a
possibility.
factor. Yeah, but yeah, otherwise I still think it's a pretty solid week for you. Solid week for you, and
I
done
mean,
really
I'm
well.
still happy. I'm still green on the week.
Yeah.
You can't ask for more. Especially like, most people lose money. So if I can even be green on the week, like, I really should be happy with that. Really just need to focus on next week for my actual adaptions to see how I play that.
Yeah. Can you see my screen?
I can. You're good.
All right, brilliant. So this week, I haven't been able to import today's trades yet. I took 4 trades today. 3 of them were green, and one of them was a losing trade. But I ended the week on green today, today as well. So that's given me 4 green days and 1 red day. So I am sitting slightly above 20, probably at about 22.50, 22.60, I think, from top of my head, because it was only a small green day. I think it was about $1.60 or $1.70, if I remember correctly. But it's interesting because if you look at my stats, I've had a good accuracy for this week. Uh, if you consider the 4 trades that I've taken today, I would have 18 wins and 6 losers. So that gives me an accuracy of still about 75% approximately. But what was disappointing for me was my average winning trades versus my average losing trades. It gave me a profit to loss ratio of 0.62 to 1. So a
Mm.
losing profit to loss ratio. And the reason for that is because of the trade that I took yesterday, and that really sort of skewed my results. So I feel like sometimes you got to take the profit to loss ratio with a pinch of salt, because if you look at yesterday, I took 11 trades and I had an accuracy of 72%. So I had all these green trades, apart from, I mean, some of them were scratch trades technically because I was getting in and out. But these 2 trades, this specific trade, $11.44, really messed up my, I think, profit to loss ratio. But even though I had another green day, a big green trade in one go, it still wasn't enough to save it. And the reason for that is, funny enough, because I had very little losers. So if I had more losers, then the average losing trade would have been lower, because this divides the entire losing trade by the number of trades you've taken. So I've only had 6 losing trades altogether. So therefore, my actually not 6, maybe 5 losers, because I only had 1 loser today. So if you divide my entire losses for the week by 5 losers, of course the average is going to be higher, and especially where some of my winners were very small. So I was a bit upset by my profit and loss ratio, but I was like, you know what, it is what it is. As long, but ultimately my accuracy was higher. So not a bad week for me. I think all in all, again, I've kept the trade low, 24, only 2 more than you. Don't forget, this hasn't imported Friday's numbers yet. And my average hold time, the only thing you can see here is about half a minute for winning trades and a minute for losing trades.
So you're really
So,
in and
and I
out.
think, yeah, so I think that's a bit too high probably for the losing trade in comparison to the winning trade. And I think again that's probably maybe because of yesterday's trade and the day before where I averaged down a couple of times. It's not something that I often do, but I was really testing, sort of trying to buy off the support on a 10-second chart, and timing that was proving difficult. So instead of me selling, I was just average down. But anyway, so those are my stats. I don't know what your thoughts are.
Yeah,
Any
I would like.
questions?
Can you go ahead and show your monthly chart, which showed all the days again for me, real quick?
Yeah, the calendar.
Yeah, the calendar. Yeah, so something I'm wondering, and in particular, now that I know how long you're holding, this is maybe something else that's like making me a little more concerned, is you're having days where you're making like 55 cents on the day, a dollar on the day. So for you to have had a day where you had trades that you were making $20 on in less than a minute, it feels like that might have been a bit too overexposed. Because if that trade like would have went against you, right? If you lost $10 or $20, then that could have wiped out several days of progress. You understand where I'm coming from? Like, so I'm really wondering, what was your sizing for this trade? Because I'm wondering if maybe there was overexposure that went on with BTTC for you.
No, it's a great point. I totally agree with you. So this is the total volume. You've got to divide this by two. As you can see, I've been consistently trading with either quarter size, which given that my maximum size right now is 20, so I've been trading with quarter size, which is 5 shares, or maybe in this case 15 shares, because I would have averaged into it. But where I started going wrong is these two last trades, where I did it in my recap on that day. I did say that I wasn't happy at all with the way I ended up in the green, because I averaged down and I even exceeded my total position. So I went up to 30 shares instead of my usual 20. And this is the first time I've done this in over probably 2, 3 months now. And then because then I was triggered by this, as I gave back all my gains for the morning, I went in with 20 shares. So I was overexposed. That was normally what I tend to do, is I tend to go in with a small shares position to build a cushion. But by this point, I was already down $7, and I think about $7. And I think this was more like a Hail Mary, and it wasn't controlled at all. So yeah, great observation. That is a really good point, and it's something I reflected on in my recap
Yeah,
for
I
sure.
only bring it up too because I've seen many people, myself included, to where the biggest detriment is averaging into a trade or
Yeah,
oversizing on a trade, especially on emotion.
yeah,
And I see the mistakes I've made from what you're doing here. And I mean, you're green. I'm, of course, thankful for that. But I see that as a red flag. So I just wanted to flag it for you, just so
yeah,
we're aware of it.
absolutely. Yeah, totally. And thank you for pointing that out. It's a good way to be reminded of it, and to be aware of it, because you could easily brush this under the carpet and say that, oh, I'm just grateful it's green. I'm not going to do it again. And that's what I used to do in the past. And to sort of make this mistake after not having made it for so long, I suppose I'll take the win on that side, but also,
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
yeah,
No, I'm not
it wasn't
saying
as
like,
it was
yeah,
like a bittersweet basically moment for me.
yeah, more of a good approach is just to be monitor it going forward and see how long you can go without doing it again, right? Because if you do it again
Yeah,
within like a week, that's something that's a real flag that should be investigated. But if you don't do it, if you do it like once a month and it's not like a huge amount, like that level of discipline's enough to where there's probably not going to be any problems. It's just if you see that start to happen more, especially whenever
yeah,
you have losses, right? So, like in
yeah,
this instance, you had a big loss and you resulted by sizing up.
yeah.
So, seeing if that pattern continues, even on smaller trades where it's not a big deal, that that's something to maybe watch for because that usually is what leads into the bigger averaging in.
Just one final note on what you said. Yeah, I mean, if that trade had gone against me, it probably would have eaten into my last week's profits too, in terms of
Well,
where I stood. So, which would have really like put a dent in my month, even though it was very small, but still, you want to be profitable, right?
you figure it was a $20 win, right? If you swung it and it was a $20 loss, you would have been
Yeah,
down $9 on the month, not up 31. So like that.
that's
I'm
it.
just saying because that's a pretty big swing for nine
Yeah,
or 10 trading days.
yeah,
For me, just to
absolutely.
give like kind of context, if I'm aiming for around $20 a day, right? That means I would need to have just kind of relative to what your loss was, I would need to have a $200 loss to have a similar level. And to me, my risk parameters are nowhere near that exposed right now. So
Yeah,
To put it another way, the fact you were red $11 before you took the next trade that eventually saved you, what is your kind of walk away point? As in, what is your max loss for the day? When do you walk away after a certain amount? Because being down $11 to me, given how much you're aiming for each day, you're looking at maybe you were 5 times your average daily return.
So my max loss right now is $10. That's with
Okay.
my broker. So I can't take any more trades after if I hit $10 or more in losses. And on that trade, I was already up like $6 or $7. I had a small loss of $2. And then the next trade I took, which was $11, put me down by $7. So I was still able to take a trade,
I gotcha. Okay.
but the problem is when I went in with 20 shares, I still could have lost another $10, $20. The broker doesn't necessarily stop you out straight away, but it just means that once you've stopped out, you can't take any more trades. So yeah, but my max loss is $10 per day.
Yeah, I would definitely, going forward, really keep track of your exposure. And that's something I've tracked very religiously. I mean, I can give a real brief example. About a month ago, and this is just the sizing issue, it can be very difficult in certain stocks, but there was a stock MOVE that moved, and it
Yep.
was it was of a super low float. This was back during the GLTO move, and it ended up squeezing like 400%. So, we're talking monster moves, and we're talking like a dollar swing per minute. So
Yep.
I had made the incorrect assessment to take half size when this should have realistically been an 8th size trade. And I was wrong, and the trade went hard against me, and I had like a $130 loss. And it's those kind of mistakes that can absolutely destroy you. And I don't know if you had oversized, undersized, or if this was something where you were aware that you were oversizing and you were allowing it. But that's another thing to keep in mind. Like, I haven't done that for a month. And I think before that, I actually haven't done that for like 3 months. So it's not a common occurrence for me, but it does happen. And like, you haven't done
Yeah.
it from what I could tell. You haven't really done this, so I'm not really like criticizing. I'm
No.
just saying be aware that
Yeah.
this has happened and see how
Yeah.
long it takes between this happening again.
So yeah, it's a good point. I think it's about acknowledging that it's happened, keeping an eye on it,
Yeah.
rather than trying to forget it and be like, okay, I've done it now. Let's just brush it under the carpet. It's like, no, you need to keep an eye on it. No, it was one of my bad traits. Yeah, averaging down is one of the things that I used to do, but I've been working on it to stop it for myself from doing it. So I suppose I could say in the past, definitely for last month or even October, no, perhaps no November, the entirety of November and this month is the first time I've done this in terms of averaging down and actually exceeding my maximum share position, which then led to me having an $11 loss. But if I and I yeah, so
No, and
definitely
that's good.
something to bear in
I mean,
mind.
that's good that you were able to go that long. And if that's been a more, am I going out on a limb to say that you probably did averaging down a lot more frequently in the past? So this is an improvement off of how you were in the past with it.
Yeah, and that was because of my I didn't manage my size well, and that you'd go in heavy, and then it moves against you, and you're not anticipating it, so you're trying to chase the loss and average into it, trying to gain, get something back out of it, and then you just keep digging yourself a bigger hole.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've done a good job with that too. Even though today, or not today, this week, it feels like I've been getting burned the latter half of the week because I've been still
Yeah,
sizing appropriately. It's really limited those burns, right? I haven't had any days where I was more than red $30 on the day, so that's really good for just maintaining damage and see how the next week goes, right? Because again, this could be low variance. For me, I'm looking, was this just variance and next week I'll have more higher accuracy and I won't have as many of those drawdowns? If so, then I could write this off maybe this week to just variance because of course you're
yeah,
not going to be right every time, and you're also going to get stuck in rug pulls sometimes. So I'm not really just going to say I've made a habitual mistake. I need more data before I really conclude that.
So, off the back of what we were just talking about, sizing and so on, the one thing I wanted to ask or discuss is because I feel like I've been mainly trading with quarter size positions.
Hmm.
I've rarely in the past few weeks gone full share size. In fact, the only time I have is from what you just saw, the two trades that I took. And I'm like, by me going quarter share size, is that being too conservative? Or is it because I'm not waiting perhaps for the right opportunities? Or is the concept of building a cushion with very small size right now may not make sense because the opportunities that you take with those small sizes are the only opportunities you're going to get. So you might as well capitalize on them to the best of your ability rather than take small portions, because then you end up with, like, I don't know, I had a day where I only made 50 cents. Again, it's not about the P&L, but I suppose it still reflects that as you're trying to grow your account and you size up. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
I do have a take on that. So this is a concept that I've heard people say before. I don't think I've heard it coined for trading in particular, but it's the concept of the seen versus the unseen. So, for example, we'll use me. The last, starting from before this Monday, I was on a 10-day green streak. And you might say, well, why aren't you sizing up then? Why were you trading with reduced size? You only took like 3 trades out of like 40 that were normal or aggressive adding. Why not just do that? I've seen comments of this a lot. And the reality is, and I noted this during the last 2 weeks that I've been trading, while I had been getting a lot of small base hits, I noticed that there was a lot of rug pulls, a lot of failing setups just everywhere. Like a lot of stocks are not holding up. They are rugging. They are not stabilizing well. I've talked with a lot of short sellers who have been doing very well in this market. So the reality is that whenever there are few and far opportunities in between, and there's a lot of danger in that area, even if your accuracy is high and you're making the correct calls, adding in that kind of environment where even a slight inaccuracy could cost you, that's not really a great approach. Even if on paper you're having high accuracy, if the environment is dangerous, I think that is what we were identifying, how the environment doesn't justify taking that kind of confident exposure.
Yeah. So in a sense, we're in a cold market, so you've got to be as defensive as possible.
Yeah.
It might be an opportunity for you to size up, but you need to bide your time and wait like a sniper, wait for the right opportunity to take that risk. Yeah, I totally get it. And it can be quite disheartening, right? Because you're not seeing account growth necessarily. Again, I'm not talking about myself. I'm talking about people who are looking for account growth. They might not see that account growth, and it
Yeah.
might actually make more sense to sometimes just take the month off, just take a few weeks off, just to go away and come back and refreshed, rather than try to turn up every day and feel disheartened and battle through it. But yeah, that's a very good point.
I would push back a little bit against the taking off perspective. I can understand why you would want to do that, and I've seen some people again talk about why are you even
Yeah,
trading if it's just cold every day. And the reality is you don't know when it's going to stop being cold. This year
yeah,
we've been generally in a hot market. This is actually quite surprising to me that we were cold this long. We've had a few good opportunities, like the SMX move was crazy. Even BTTC from yesterday was a nice move. But the reality is that when you leave, you're not getting information on the context of the market, and I feel like
yeah,
that's really important. And also, you start to lose your sharpness. You lose your edge. You aren't as
yeah.
precise with identifying things. That's just
Takes a
my
while,
take.
doesn't it?
I understand your perspective too, right? If the market's cold and you want to take a break, and then might just wait until you see 100% gappers every morning. I mean, that is valid in its own respect. I just think that there are some issues with that I pointed out.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think it's a great time to be learning, and that's why what I'm really focusing on, because it reduces the number of trades. You can pick things apart easier. rather than taking 20, 30, 40 trades a day, you're taking very select few trades. You can then pinpoint out what your mistakes were because you're waiting for the right thing to set up to come along,
Hmm.
and then you just pull the trigger. So it's easier to reflect on that. The same way I was able to pick apart those few trades with you just now. That's been quite helpful. But if I'd taken hundreds of those in a day, then it makes it difficult to accumulate this data and basically decipher it in so many respects. But yeah,
Is there anything else you want to talk about here? Because I think we've pretty much covered the bases here.
I think so. I think it's been good. It's been good to just catch up.
All right.
I'm
Well,
happy to
I
call
guess
it
we'll go
here.
ahead and wrap it up here then. We'll have to do this again next week if you're free. I am enjoying these recaps. I feel like they're very informative. And yeah, I guess that's it. So I will talk at you next week.
Yeah, lovely talking to you, and have a good weekend.
All right. You as well.